So Mauricio, come on up. Now, before he comes up, let me ask everybody, turn your chairs around so you can see this way. A lot of you are facing that way, and there's nothing to see there, because you want to see the most dynamic realtor in the United States of America.
Hey, Bob, thank you.
We're going to start with a little intro video.
I actually double-checked, and we actually are up to 2,800 shots of tequila.
2,800, all right. Can you imagine being this successful and having this much fun? That's what we should all strive to do, I believe. So let's start with your earlier years before you got into real estate. When you were 6, your mom and dad moved from Mexico City to the U.S. And you've got this name, very exotic, Mauricio Umansky. I assume that's from your Greek and Russian heritage. So tell us a little bit about your earlier years pre-real estate.
Well, yeah, you know, my parents moved from Mexico City to Los Angeles. You know, one of the primary reasons actually why we moved is I was actually born with a blood disease. And I spent the first 6 years of my life in children's hospitals. And so that's why Children's Hospital has become one of my favorite charities now. And so we moved to Los Angeles. My grandparents are all of Russian and Greek descent. We're not 100% sure where they're from. I'm always told that one of them was an explorer on a boat, and so I was born somewhere, or my grandparents were born somewhere in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea.
Amazing. Well, you founded the agency 6 years ago, and he now controls 17% of the market share of LA, the #1 company in the city for per agent production. For the past 7 years, he's been ranked by the Wall Street Journal's Real Trend report as being in the top 10 agents in production. Some years he's #3 in the country. We discovered last night over dinner somebody may be fudging their numbers. He actually may be #1. And he's always #1 realtor in California. And he sold more homes than any other realtor ever, over $20 million. So just to give you a little idea about Mauricio, how did you get started in real estate? Or how did this amazing story begin?
Well, I had to drop out of college. When I was in college, I was really fighting hard, and my father said to me, you know, you either got to concentrate and get to school or get to work. And I actually started a fashion industry. I went to go work for my father. I was always in sales. I was always about sales. I had a really good friend of mine that was one of the smartest guys I knew that, you know, had a scholarship to go to Harvard. And he always said to me, he goes, Mauricio, you're a sales guy. Like, just stick to what you're great at. And my passion growing up was always fashion, architecture, interior design, homes. And so the only way that I could do what I was great at, which was selling, and be able to enjoy my passion, was to get into real estate. Also, I find that, you know, that as a realtor, one of the great things that we all have is that we have the opportunity to be entrepreneurs, to be innovative, to be creative, to, you know, kind of run our own businesses, right? You know, even if you're just, you know, a real estate agent. You're in essence running your own business, and you get to, you know, play with a lot of different facets of business. You get to play with, you know, marketing and creative and selling and running your books and you know, how do you grow the company, and thinking always about, you know, how do you innovate and how do you find more leads and all of that stuff. And so for me, it's kind of, you know, it's a business that we're just lucky to be a part of. We're also super lucky to be a part of it because I don't know of any other business in the world that you can earn as much money as in real estate without a large investment, right? I mean, our investment is in ourselves, it's in our time, it's in photography, it's in marketing, but we don't have to go out and build, you know, a big building or a big business, and, you know, the capital investment is very light. So, you know, we're very, you know, as salespeople, I think we're very lucky to be able to have that opportunity to earn, you know, good livings.
You were sharing with me, before he started the agency, he was in the process. And he met with the developers of the Ritz-Carlton high-rise condos in LA. And he said, you know, his competitors had big formal
Well, I'll tell
presentations.
you that story.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead, yeah.
So
This is
we
too
went
good.
we went into the Ritz-Carlton. We had been formalizing, you know, the decision as to whether we're going to open or not open the agency. We're building the business plan. We're creating the business plan. It literally took us 9 months to create the business plan. I always say I had a baby. We somehow got invited to pitch for the residences at the Ritz-Carlton for selling them out. It was post-recession. And, you know, and we went in there and we went to pitch without existing. And we were trying to figure out how we're going to pitch for the business without existing. And so we literally just went in there and we just told the truth. And we sat in front of Phil Anschutz and AEG. They owned, I'm sure you guys know who that is. They owned the building. They owned the Los Angeles Kings. They owned the MLS. I mean, a whole bunch of things. So we go in there and we literally just decided to tell the truth and just to let them know that we don't exist yet, that we're about to open up. And we came in with a presentation that was literally like 4 or 5 pages long. And we left. 2 weeks later, we get a phone call. They said, you know, Mr. Anschutz wants to meet with you. We come back in, and Billy and I are arriving at the meeting. And at the meeting, they have it all set up, and they've got, you know, all of our competitors' presentations. You know, they're like this, or like this, and like this, and then ours is, you know, like this, right? And Anschutz looks at us, and he goes, you know, on paper, you guys don't look very good. But we're going to go with you. When do you open? And literally, Billy and I look at each other, and it's a Friday, and it's Labor Day weekend, and we look at each other, and I turn around, and I go, Tuesday. And I left there, I got on the phone, and I called up my cousin who had a little building in Beverly Hills, and I said, I'm leasing your space tonight. I'm moving in on Tuesday, and he said, okay, and on Tuesday, we moved in.
And then tell them about how you invested in your logo.
You know, so one of the things that we always think about in terms of in our philosophy in business is that in order to be great, you have to pay and you have to be willing to pay to be great, okay? And we thought that our logo was going to be an extraordinarily important part of our growth and our success. So at the time of starting this thing, we spent the majority of our budget on the logo. So we went out and hired, we put out a contest to see who we would hire in terms of an advertising firm and a marketing firm, and we ended up hiring the same firm that remarketed and rebranded Audi. It was an extraordinarily expensive branding, especially for a business that didn't exist. But I think it ended up being a great logo. I mean, I really do believe that you get what you pay for. We follow the same philosophy in terms of the people that we hire. The people that we hire, you know, need to have great brains, need to be super smart. And I always tell everybody that works for me that I have no interest. You know, my CMO one day came into my office early in his life, and he's a brilliant guy. He came into the office and he starts telling me what I wanted to hear. And I told him, I said, Mike, if you ever tell me what I want to hear again, you're fired. I said, I hired you to know what's in your brain. I may agree with you, I may disagree with you sometimes, but I never want to know what you think I want to hear. So that's, you know, kind of our philosophy in terms of running, you know, the business.
Turning to your family, Mauricio has a beautiful family, and he's a strong believer in work-life balance. And here they're on the Amalfi Coast enjoying the family time together. Mauricio is a uber cool guy, but he's also married to a very, very cool lady, the Real Housewife of Beverly Hills, Kyle Richards. How has the fact you're both celebrities in your own right, how's that affected your life and your careers?
We should put up the photo I just showed you in the...
yeah, well, we could, yeah.
We've used it. You know, reality television is part of our society today. Yeah. I mean, there's no question. You can't escape it. It's probably, you know, I mean, you watch what the Kardashians have done. I mean, they're more powerful than, you know, any of the people that we all grew up with. You know, Tom Cruise, Madonna. I mean, it's unbelievable. But reality television has really become a really important part of our society. And I have made sure that we use the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and my wife's fame and as part of a marketing campaign. Social media is super important. I've seen a few of you few people here that are winning the awards today do a ton of social media. Very smartly done. I think it's fantastic. But you know, we make sure that every time we're on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I'm sure some of you guys here have watched it, I hope, We do have, you know, always the water bottle with the agency logo. We've got the hats with the agency logo. We've got the T-shirts with the agency logo, the leggings, the pins. Like we're product placing all the time. And so we just make sure that we're continually out there. I figure if I'm going to be on television and opening up my life to the whole world, I might as well make the best of it.
How do you, back to the business piece, how do you select which agents you would like to join the agency? And then how do you know when it's time to invite someone to maybe leave the
So
agency?
we have a really interesting philosophy on that. We're not about having a ton of agents. Our philosophy is that if you get lucky enough to wear the agency pin or hold the agency flag, that you're the top of your game. And so we limit the amount of agents so that we stop competition for the same listings or minimize it as much as possible. We also have a whole collaborative type of experience. So if two agents are going after the same listing, they generally just share it and go after it together. I mean, it's not something that we force. It's just part of the culture. It's part of, you know, what happens. And sometimes that doesn't happen that way. I mean, you've got a brother that's selling their house and somebody thinks they have a lead. Well, they don't really have a lead, okay? So it's really more about, you know, the reality of what that looks like. But in order to maintain, you know, greatness in your firm, you know, you sometimes have to make some really difficult decisions. And we've had two occasions where top agents, we had our number 3 agent at one point, our number 3 producer, we had to let her go. And it was because, you know, she was unethical, the integrity was low, constantly getting us into trouble. And although she was one of the most important producers that we have, and today she is still an extraordinarily important producer. She makes the top 20 on the Wall Street Journal every single year. Wow. You know, we had to let her go. And by letting her go, it was actually funny enough, it was an extraordinarily tough decision, but we ended up getting 3 great agents that then came to the office and said, now I'm ready to join you. And the reason I didn't join you is because you had her. So sometimes making tough decisions is really difficult, but you have to make them. You sometimes have to sacrifice it. It's part of, you know, our rule number 1. It's the no asshole rule. It really is our rule number 1. When you work at the agency and you sign your employment agreement, rule number 1, big capital letters, it says no assholes. Rule number 2 is we like to have fun. And then we get into all the other fun stuff.
That's when you give them the shot of tequila.
That's when we give them their first shot at tequila at the agency, yeah.
You know, I've talked to him quite a few times, and the word integrity always is a part of his vocabulary. It's a part of their mission statement. And you walk the talk, you don't just talk it. So
Thank you.
Now tell it, this is what everybody wants to know. What was it like to list and sell one of the most famous homes in America, the Playboy Mansion, for $100 million?
It was fun and it was extraordinary, and I mean, it's probably the most iconic house in the country, without question. It's the first house in Los Angeles to actually sell for $100 million. The funny thing is that when I went on, so what we did to get this house listed is I actually went, you know, the extra step. I actually, for the listing appointment and for the presentation, I actually pre-prepared the entire marketing campaign for them. We arrived with a video that had a Playboy bunny walking, you know, over the mansion. We had all the ads built. We had the entire campaign built as if we already had the listing. And Playboy Enterprises was so impressed by that. And, you know, again, I had also, I mean, my accolades, you know, like I said, until somebody tells me otherwise, I think I've sold more $20 million homes than anybody in the country, or $20+ million homes. But we literally went in there with the entire campaign completely done. We left nothing to chance. We said to them, we're ready to launch tomorrow. And they loved the campaign. They thought it was so creative. A lot of our campaigns are not about selling. You know, one of the things that we try to do to redefine real estate is that we don't sell 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,800 square feet. What we sell is a lifestyle, right? So what we do is we always go out there and telling people what it is that their lifestyle is going to be like in that house, in the community, what schools, what locations, what parks, you know, you're walking, you're riding your bike to the beach, whatever it is that you're doing. And so that's kind of the angle that we take in terms of creative marketing. I got to tell you, that every time I got a call to show this house, I let nobody else do the showings. I did absolutely every single showing. The grotto was, a ton of fun to go into. The funnest thing about the Playboy Mansion, quite honestly, is the zoo. Hugh has an amazing zoo. Obviously he just passed away recently, but he has an amazing zoo, the most beautiful birds, the most beautiful animals and peacocks and all kinds of crazy stuff in there. And it was just it was a great sale.
Did you meet him?
I did. I actually had a chance to have lunch at the Playboy Mansion. And I had lunch with him and with the CEO of Playboy Enterprises, and it was a great experience.
Now, he has clients like everyone in this room does, Hugh Hefner, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. He used to babysit Michael Jackson's kids, by the way. Prince, Lady Gaga, Kim Kardashian, Sofia Vergara, and many, many, many others. So I know everyone wants to know, what is it like to work with the rich and famous clients?
Well, it's a ton of fun. I mean, the beauty of it is that it's the same as every other client. I mean, all these people are people, right? Yeah. I mean, there's really no difference. I mean, the only difference is that sometimes you're just in front of, somebody that's just incredible. I mean, I remember showing Michael Jackson homes, and we were walking, and similar like the way this, is echoing right now, we're walking in a house, we're in a corridor, and we all of a sudden they walked past a spot that he just thought the sound was perfect, and he took 2 steps back and started to sing, just a cappella right there, and it was just just like I mean, one of the most beautiful things in the world. Then of course I was telling you the Lady Gaga story yesterday. My wife was asked to do a music video for Lady Gaga, and they filmed it over at the San Simeon, over at the Hearst Castle, and so about 4 weeks later, we're going to Vegas, and she's doing a concert, and oh my God, pray for the people in Vegas right now, talking about Vegas and concerts. But we're going to Vegas, and she's doing a concert, and my wife reaches out, she sends a text, and she says, hey, we're in Vegas, can we come and see your show? So sure enough, they respond, and they put us in, some really nice seats. Well, 2 songs before the concert's going to end, we get called in to go backstage. We're in the backstage, we're drinking wine, Gaga comes in, and she's a fan of the Housewives, she's a fan of of my wife's, and right away she knew what I did, and she goes, so Mauricio, so tell me, I've been working my butt off, I haven't really bought anything for myself yet, I've never really bought anything, I don't even know how to go through the process of buying a property. And she said, and I said, well, what do you want? And she starts describing what she wants, and she says, I want a paparazzi-proof property. I want, chickens. I want animals. I want, the beach. I want land. That's what I want. And I say to her, I go, well, I only know of one house. And I literally pull out my phone and I show her the house, and she's looking at it and she's swiping, and she goes, pretty cool. She says, I'm going to be in Los Angeles in 2 days. Can you show me the house? I go, well, I'm going to be in Europe, but I'll have somebody open the house for you. And I leave to Europe. I call up my partner. I say, Santiago, I'm sending you Lady Gaga. He goes, what? I go, yeah. I go, you're going to go pick her up at the hotel. You're going to take her to go see this house, and let's see what happens, right? So sure enough, we do that. He sends her to see the house, and she buys the house. I never asked her how much it was. How much it was north of $20 million. I never asked her what her budget was. I never asked her anything. She just described to me what it is that she wanted, and I pulled out the only house I can think of that matched that. So sometimes you got to just take a chance, and not be scared. I had no idea what. My wife says, how'd you know she spent that much? I said, I had no idea. That was just the house she described.
HAR is known as the Technological Association. And I told you last night that HR.com is the only website in real estate that beats Zillow in any market in the country. How do you use technology to enhance and further the goal of the agency? And then what's your favorite technology?
Well, I think technology is key to the way that the real estate industry is evolving. I think a lot of technology is great. I think a lot of technology is terrible. I think a lot of the technology right now is allowing our discount brokers to come and start discounting our commissions and making our jobs less important, and have a lesser time of life. Which is, I was telling you yesterday, we kind of launched an discount broker website called the PLS.com. It's available nationwide. It's really about pocket listings, and the idea is that it's our content. It frustrates me a little bit. We go out there and we take photographs and we get an exclusive listing agreement and we put it out into, our local MLSs, and then it's everywhere, and then it's on Zillow and Trulia, and then the consumer gets to see it, and then the discount brokerages get to see it, and then they get to have it, and then they sell our content back to ourselves, and then we got to pay for leads. That's our own content, and it's just very, very frustrating to go through all of that process. So
how do you feel about that?
So, the pocket listing service is, where the idea of that is to, it's the PLS.com, is for the realtors. Only a realtor will have accessibility to it. And so hopefully that's the idea to prolong our jobs, to keep the real estate agents making money, earning money, and to have a longer career. All of our money in terms of technology, not all of it, but we believe at the agency in CRM systems, contact relationship management systems, and we share all of it. So everybody that works at the agency actually has access to everything going on. The collaboration is tremendous. I believe that because of that, our internal sales are somewhere around 30 to 35% of all of our transactions we do with ourselves. We only have 220 agents across 14 offices, okay? And like Bob was saying, we're controlling right now, we're up from the 17%. We're controlling about 21% of the market in Los Angeles. 30% of that is within ourselves. And a lot of that is happening because of the communication and the technology that we have. So that to me is crucial. Lead generation, the majority of our money in technology goes towards lead generation, capturing the client, at the website and social media. There's amazing social media technology that's about to come out that I'm super excited about. It's not out yet, but it's what they're working on. Salesforce is working on this thing right now. They're about to launch it. It's going to be amazing for lead generation. Keep an eye out for it. So I think technology is super important.
You said in the video earlier that one of your favorite things is to sell and see amazing properties. And if we take a look at some of your listings, tell us a little bit about, or any one idea about any of these. Here's a listing for $129 million, if anyone's interested.
It's for sale, guys.
Yeah.
This house is incredible. This is actually the first house, it hasn't sold, but this was the first house to be listed at $195 million in all of the West Coast.
Wow.
This house is incredible. It sits in Beverly Hills. It's the acreage for Beverly Hills is outstanding. I think it's 35 acres, which is impossible to get in Beverly Hills. So I think it's just the mere size and the location of this house is what really impresses me the most.
Then you've got an inexpensive one. This is only $48 million.
This house is outstanding. It sits right on the Bel Air Country Club on the 6th hole. And it's just absolutely fantastic. It's got, right now, one of the greatest things that's happening in Los Angeles, in my opinion, is the great architecture. We're seeing some of the best architecture in the world right now. And the reason for that is because we have all the billionaires. We have a tremendous amount of billionaires moving to Los Angeles, and they're hiring the most incredible architects from all over the world, from South Africa, from London, from Mexico, from Los Angeles, and we're seeing some of the best realist architecture ever. And this house, one of the greatest things about it is that it's a real transitional house. It's kind of one of those first homes that really took transition with the traditional exterior, and the interior of this house is so modern and so cool and so hip that the combination of both of this thing just makes this super exciting.
And then $39 million.
Well, this house is Madonna's house.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I guess I can say it now since they moved out. I leased this house over the summer. I think you guys all heard of Beyonce had a baby. She had a baby in this house.
Wow.
And they were there. They just bought another house. I'm not allowed to talk about that one. But this house is This house is Madonna's old house, and right now we sold it to the owner of Rockstar Energy Drink, a guy named Russ Weiner. So currently it's his house, and we've got it back up for sale, and it's just outstanding.
And then a $36 million listing.
Well, this house is in Beverly Park, and Beverly Park is a community in Beverly Hills that's just so much fun. I have a great story to tell you about this. I mean, Beverly Park is some of the most incredible celebrities: Rod Stewart, Sylvester Stallone, Avi Arad, Magic Johnson. This is where I leased a house. Right across the street from this was where Prince was living for many, many years. He always leased. He didn't buy in L.A. The funny thing is, he threw a very small concert in the basement of that house, and I invited my wife, and he was playing, and Stevie Wonder was playing in the living room, and it was only like 16 of us. It was like 60 of us, and it was amazing. It was 4 in the morning. My wife, and he was like giving out, the tambourine, and then he, goes like this with his guitar, and my wife thinks he's giving out the guitar, and she grabs the guitar, and you see Prince and Kyle fighting over the guitar, and I'm like, honey, let go of the guitar, it's his.
Oh, well, you live in a very exciting world, no doubt about it. Mauricio and I share a common friend, a guy named Brad Inman, which many of you probably read his news sources every day. And Brad's the reason Mauricio is here, because Brad rode his bike to Mauricio's office one day. I think it was a Saturday. Met him, called me, said, "Oh my God, you won't believe this guy. You got to meet him." And I met him at an Emma conference and said, "Would you come speak to Houston Realtors?" And I guess you said yes because you're here now. So,
I am thrilled to be here in Houston with you all.
We really appreciate Brad. Members of the Houston HAR YPN are very passionate about giving back to their community. Great. And I know that you are a big supporter of the Children's Hospital Los Angeles. What does giving back mean to you?
Everything. I'm a big believer it's our social responsibility. It's a social responsibility to give back. The agency, as the agency, we give back through Give Back Homes for Habitat for Humanity, and I think we raised. She just told me about over $250,000 last year. All of our agents give back 100% participation amongst the agents. It's not mandatory. They just all give back, and we always give back on behalf of the client and on behalf of the client's name. So as the agency, we go through that. And like I said, personally, I kind of owe my life to the Children's Hospital. So
yes.
We have to keep that going.
Yeah. Now we're going to show a little video that'll show you a little bit more about this wild, crazy guy next to me here.
It's the unveiling of the Lamborghini Huracan. And if anyone wants to drive it home, it'll set them back $250,000. But the super broker throwing this bash has his eye on a much bigger prize, finding a buyer for this $29 million bachelor pad.
We like to throw parties at a party house because it allows the client to start seeing how that house actually lives.
Mauricio Umansky is a bit of a celebrity himself. He and his wife, Kyle Richards, have been mainstays on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And as one of LA's top brokers, Mauricio knows a hot property when he sees it.
Now, what he hasn't told you is, where are you leaving to go when you leave Houston?
I'm going to Washington, D.C. I'm going to have lunch at the White House tomorrow.
Now, stand up, everybody. Stand up. Show him your shoes.
Oh, Dad, you're going to make me do that? So I told Bob today that I reached into my luggage and I realized I forgot my shoes with all my socks. So I'm sitting here and I'm sorry that you're having to look at those pretty little ankles.
So he's going to the White House tomorrow with tennis shoes on and no socks. Shows you the quality of this guy.
By the way, I got to tell you, those guys over at Lamborghini, they kind of suckered me, and I ended up walking out with that Lamborghini.
Oh, you bought it?
I did.
You have the most amazing career. To end this interview, what information or what advice or what would you share with the young realtors of Houston?
Well, there's a couple of things that I think are super important, and one of them I mentioned in the video, which is to have knowledge today is the most important important thing you can have as you're selling your clients, okay? The clients have so much knowledge available to them. It's all on the internet. They're all getting, they're all getting educated on it. And when you show up and they know more than you, that's a problem. Like, that's just not, a good move. You have to understand, what's going on, have knowledge of not only the inventory, but your purchase and sale contracts, be able to explain them, be able to recite them, be able to memorize them. I mean, I could recite all 48 clauses in our contract. I've been able to recite it. I read it all the time, and I could pretty much recite it without looking at it. Super important. That's number one. Number two is salespeople, in order to get deals. I find that one of the things that holds us back in order to get deals is fear. And you got to get over your fear. It's a fear of rejection, it's fear of being turned down, it's fear of making the call, it's fear of all of that stuff, and you have to get over the fear. I shared a story with you last night, about fear, and we'll end with that story, I think. Early in my career, I've been selling real estate now, I think, for 21 years. I'm not sure. Let's just pretend that's right. And sometime around my 7th year in real estate, I ended up putting into escrow Kelsey Grammer's house. I was representing the buyer. It was a $17 million deal. And the buyer really wanted to buy the massage table and the desk and a couple of some personal property. We all know we're not supposed to negotiate personal property, right? But the buyer wanted it, and we did, and we negotiated the personal property. And as we're doing the final walkthrough, Kelsey Grammer decides that he's not leaving the desk, and he's not leaving the massage table, and he's not leaving this, and he's not leaving that. And this is a $17 million deal. It's not that big of a deal in terms of the amount of the stuff that we're discussing. But my buyer decides that that's bad energy, it's bad omen, and that he's going to cancel escrow. So I, right there, send an email, and I send an email to and I go, are we doing this for sure, or is this just, you're having a little bit of a fit? He goes, cancel it right now. So I send an email to the escrow company. I send an email to my assistant. We cancel escrow. I leave. I go to play golf. I'm on the 14th hole at the golf course, and I see an unknown number come into my message machine. I don't answer it. I'm in a bad mood. I just don't want to deal with this thing. And I don't answer it. I listen to the voicemail after they leave it, and the voicemail goes something like this. He goes, Mauricio, Kelsey Grammer here. He goes, you are lower than low. You are the scum of the earth. You are the most disgusting human being on the planet. And he goes off for 5 minutes, okay? And I'm listening to this thing, and I'm like, my heart's like this. I'm like, this is Kelsey Grammer. Like, I've always lived, for reputation. Like, it's got to be, it's my reputation. You only have it once. Once you mess it up, it's gone, right? Like, it's that simple. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation. It takes 2 seconds to lose it, right? So I tell my friends, I go, I know we only have 3 holes left. You can have my money. I'm out of here. I jump over there. I call up Kelsey Grammer. I now have his phone number for the first time. I never had it. I didn't represent it, right? So now I have his phone number for the first time. I call him up. I'm like, Kelsey, I go, I got to come and see you. Like, I got to do this thing. So he goes, come over right now. I get changed. I don't have socks on. I get myself over to the to his house, which is in Beverly Park, right where where we were at. And I start explaining to him. I sit down with him and Camille, which is how I met Camille, which is how she then later ended up on our show. But I sit down with him and Camille, and I have a conversation for an hour and a half, and I address all of the issues, and I tell him what happened, and I address it one by one with reality and et cetera, et cetera. Near the end of the meeting, he starts telling me how much he hates his house in Beverly Park. And I start thinking, all right. I go, so do you want to sell it? He goes, yes, I want to sell the house. So I came out of that meeting by having no fear, by calling him, and I walked out of that meeting with a listing from being the scum of the earth, the lowest piece of shit and scum of the earth, pardon my language, with a listing on his house. I sold it 3 weeks later for $26 million. I walked out of there, I was dancing, I was feeling so good. And so again, face your fear, go, be direct. The truth always wins. In communication, we were talking about that. Communicate with your clients, communicate with truth, have knowledge so that you don't stumble on it. Whenever they catch you on a tiny bit of a lie, that's when it's all over.
Was he the best? Thanks.
Thank you.